Last year, DreamWorks released How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, and after rewatching the first two and watching Hidden World for the first time, it's time to rank all three How to Train Your Dragon movies from the worst to the best. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. I'm Movie Micah. Jump down into the comments section and tell me your ranking of the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy. With that said, let's get on to the ranking. Coming in last place, number 3, is How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. I hate to say that the franchise fell in the final film, but the third film just happens to be the weakest. I still think it's a really good conclusion to the trilogy, but the story just falls short of the other two. You don't really get to know much about the plot for a long time, and I really didn't prefer seeing Toothless with the new Light Fury dragon. This film clearly has the weakest plot in the franchise to me. Of course, this is still a really entertaining family film, but it's the most lighthearted and smallest scale, which didn't pay off very well. It's the least mature of the three, which didn't feel right after the second film. I can't emphasize enough that this is still a good addition to this universe, but the arcs that each character gets are weaker. Grimmel is a fine villain, but falls short of Bloodfist. The animation and action and visuals are all better in this film, but everything else is just a tiny bit weaker, unfortunately. The ending is really well done, and it will really please fans of the franchise, but everything just feels smaller scale. Just remember, I still like the film, but it's weaker than the other two, by a bit, in my opinion. In second place is going to be How to Train Your Dragon 2. With Toothless being mind-controlled, Stoic dying, and Drago Bloodfist as the main villain, this film is easily the darkest in the franchise. I prefer not to rank franchises in numerical order, and I hate to say that this franchise got weaker as it went on, because they're all pretty good films. Each one I like a tiny bit less than the last, and I hate to say that, but it's true. This film sort of felt a tiny bit repetitive with the first movie, with all the same lessons being told, and it had even more emotion, but as a whole, I don't think the sequel worked quite as well. Drago Bloodfist is easily the best villain in the franchise, and the plot of this movie is much more risky. I really like that this plot is larger scale and more risky after the simple plot of the first one, but there are some problems. It doesn't quite make sense the way that the King Dragon controls the minds of the others. They never really explain that. The lessons that this film tells are some of the best. I really appreciate that this film takes the step of killing off a main character. The death of Stoic is so meaningful, and it pays off so well. How to Train Your Dragon 2 is a really well-made sequel that doesn't quite reach the original, in my opinion. But taking the top spot, number 1 is the original How to Train Your Dragon. This is a fantastic opener to my favorite DreamWorks franchise, and this is my all-time favorite DreamWorks film. This is a really good story about a father learning to accept his son, even though he's different. Even though dragon is in the title, it's not actually about the dragons. It's about a Viking village that has to learn from a weaker and smaller person. I really feel like that kind of concept has been done so many times, but this movie finds a way to make this story better and fresh. It's a classic, well-known story, but with a nice dragon twist on it. This movie has great themes about doing what you know is right even when the rest of society does the opposite. Hiccup is a great character, even with a really unappealing name, and I also find the relationship of Hiccup and Toothless very refreshing. The weakest thing is that the animation is easily the weakest in this film. Not to say it's bad, but the hair looks really odd. I think this movie is a tiny bit better than the other two because it had deeper themes. It is a pretty simple story, but it does it very well, and How to Train Your Dragon overall is my favorite DreamWorks movie ever, and it's the best in the franchise. So that's how I would rank all three How to Train Your Dragon movies. It's just my opinion. Tell me yours down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to click that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more movie rankings or movie reviews like this. Thanks for watching. This is Movie Micah signing off. I'll see you next time.